No Buzz, a Just Bees Book Club. Stephen King. Steen. 1983? Mr. Mark? Damn, nailed it. For George Romero and Chris Forrest Romero and The Berg. Huh. I think I had read the. I knew that this was dedicated to George Romero. I probably knew that at some point because instead of watching this, even if you are a bee, which you have to be to watch this, you're listening to the Just King Things episode, rangetouch.com/just-kings-things, where they talk very extensively about both novel. If you give them $5 a month, you could listen to them talk about the movie. They're very insightful about it. The reasons that I'm reading Stephen King in publication order, not that I'm doing this channel. The channel just for bees. Not a bee, you're not watching this. No, was that? That's not how it works. Looks pretty good. After my run last year of some of the worst shit I think he's ever written, including Road Work and The Running Man, a book I truly despise, you know, King's kind of hitting again. Christine story of Christine. I had seen the film a number of times. I think it's I don't think it's one of Carpenter. I don't think it's one of my favorite of Carpenter's, but I think it's probably up there with his best. Rewatched it after finishing the novel. I think I don't recommend if you're a bee, because it can get in your head that start tracking changes. Use Microsoft Office terminology, and my sort of takeaway from that mode was movie's still very good, made a lot of very good decisions in terms of just like cutting shit out or combining shit, to turn this 650 page little tome in the trade version, obviously, the trade paper, into a 90-minute movie. Also, just a better premise. I think just horror, bad, kill, and regenerate. Not as is the case with the novel. Car bad can regenerate, driven by dead guy who sold it to Arnie Cunningham sometimes. It may be his vessel in the afterlife because of his deep and unrepentant anger issues slash just general misanthropy that also collects souls. These are all things that happen in the novel, Christine, that do not happen in the film. Book though. Centrally, it is the story of Dennis Gilder, who is our narrator for the first third or so, and the last third or so. Middle third does a Salem's Lot, the town chapters or the lot chapters, I guess. I can't remember what they're called at this point, but it is a bouncing perspective. We take over. We just jump to whoever. But there is a sort of narrative consistency in it that it seems in the third part that that those bits are also supposed to have been sort of reportage from Dennis, I believe, because he references at least once or twice. Like, I've already told you this story, but the story was a thing that happened in the part where he was not explicitly the storyteller. So it is a locked character perspective that like fucks off and bounces around for a while, which is delightful. I say reportage in a way because I'm thinking of Salem's Lot, but I'm also thinking of Carrie. Not nearly as bricolaged as Carrie was, of course, but sort of similar impulse, I think. Um, Dennis tells the story of Arnie Cunningham, a young man. They are both in their senior year of high school together. Dennis is a football star. I believe he's on the offensive line, I want to say. Yeah, because he gets wrecked at one point going after catching a ball. So he's a running back or something along those lines. Um, Football star, very popular man. Chiseled all-American boy. Arnie Cunningham, referred to repeatedly as Pizza Face, acne scarred or acne ridden and acne scarred. Has never been able to be friends with anybody. Sort of typical Stephen King loner character, loser character rather. Broad strokes, Dennis tells the story of Arnie and his haunted car and how the car seems to make him better. Point where he dates the hottest girl in school, who's a recent transfer, Lee Cabot. And then the car starts killing people, and I don't think that starts happening legit until like the back third of the novel. There's not even like an early kill. Like there's not a like I feel like this is an extremely slasher thing to do, right? Is Michael Myers, right? Halloween, being John Carpenter. Do the setup kill, babysitter. No, sister, sister. Oh, it's been a minute since I saw Halloween. That's weird. But you do the early kill that establishes the genre. With shout outs to Stephen Graham Jones. It's Drew Barrymore in Scream 1 and subsequent actresses across subsequent Scream movies. It's somebody in Nightmare on Elm Street, but I'm blanking on. I've also not seen in quite a while. Huh. I got some homework to do to catch up on my slasher credentials. Movies to rewatch that I just want to rewatch. None of that here. There's no early kill. There's just like 30 pages of Roland LeBray, I want to say is his name, the man who sells Arnie the car. It's LeBay, not LeBray. Roland, or is it wrong? Doesn't matter. It super doesn't matter. Super doesn't matter. LeBay, the first fucking 40 pages of this book is just LeBay being a wretched human being and throwing the N-word around constantly, and frankly, like, not a really enticing me to continue to read. But I did, and I'm glad I did. The book overall works really well as. What does it work as? There's a whole host of things. I suppose. It's all fucked at this point, but I did my top lip with my red lipstick and bottom lip with silver lipstick because being the escape from the fury, importantly red and white. Specific term they use at one point in the book when there's a huge digression into the cop who's like very suspicious of Arnie, and starts killing people, and they're like getting paint chips out, or they're like, car is hitting these people so hard that the paint is embedded in their like skin, left in there, and like, batches laboratory samples, and they match to the car, and the white sort of is like a thing that just keeps coming over, and I thought it would be fun. Do a little. And so Christine uh, doesn't kill anybody at the beginning of this book. The closest you get, yeah, is LeBay being a hateful old man. He eventually sells Arnie the car for way too much, according to Dennis. And according to, oh god, what is the name of the guy who runs the garage? I don't need to look for these things. It doesn't matter to me now, and it won't matter to me in the future if I ever watch. There's a man who runs a garage who's also like a petty criminal, maybe slightly more than petty, who has like a do-it-yourself garage space that Arnie rents space from, or rents a stall from, who eventually becomes sort of like a central character in. Starts trusting Arnie to go for shit around the garage, and eventually is having Arnie transport illegal goods across state lines, which is a plot point near the end of the novel. And they're all like, "Yeah, this kid got taken for a ride," but Arnie just loves Chris. And once we're out of those first 40 pages or so of LeBay, again, just running the N-word into the ground in a way that it's like extremely Stephen King in the 80s, where it's like, this is like, you could justify it as a character work thing, but it just happens so often, and like with such vehemence, and it's just uncomfortable. Like, I don't know, it's, yeah, not like offensive, but whatever. I mean, it's offensive, but like, it's just like, we got you, buddy. Like, you have characterized this man. We don't need another 10 pages of this. The guy dies. They go to his funeral, and things continue apace. Arnie works on his car. Dennis has a girlfriend. He dumps his girlfriend. They stop seeing each other as much as they used to. Arnie starts clearing up. Car seems to be getting way better, way faster. Who knows why? Got this odometer. Odometer runs backwards, and it runs backwards real fast, weirdly. It's like every 2 to 3, like every mile that Arnie drives her, it takes back 2 to 3 miles, or maybe even more later in the book, because there's a talk about it taking back almost 5 miles per mile. And like, yeah, weird. Kingian, like I said when I was talking about different seasons, King is like very good at writing dialogue that is like, if you said any of it out loud, you'd be like, this is not a thing a human being would say. But as read on the page, everyone sort of clicks together into this sort of idiolect. Doing a fantastic job of that here as well. Once the car starts rolling, the kills are good. First one is like, Christine runs down this dude. I think it's in the snowstorm, or snowstorm is later. And it's just like a very vivid description of a car fucking plowing somebody to death over and over with like true menace. I think the thing I was saying when I got into my little sidebar was, what is this novel good at? And it's good at just being a big bunch of stuff that all is a bit too much, but it fits together really well anyway, in terms of psychology of the characters, in terms of sort of the world it is imagining and building, in terms of sort of, doing the King, the 80s especially, early 80s especially, King thing of being like, I want to do a Lovecraft mythos. I know Lovecraft didn't really do that. That was, was that Arthur Machen? No. blanking on dude's name. My bad. You know, Lovecraft Mythos is a largely posthumous thing. Like he did share some things, but like it having a sense of like cohesion is largely an editorial project. Is my understanding from when I was doing a lot of Lovecraft research a decade ago. Damn, I wish I could pull his name. But yeah, I think it's a. Is it the best of his bloated novels so far? I think it might be. Because Gunslinger, not bloated, pretty svelte, all things considered, for it only being 2 books ago. Definitely better than Different Seasons, but that's a different thing. A million percent better than The Stand, which maybe was good in the original edition, but who can say? I didn't read that. Salem's Lot, I guess you could kind of call bloated. Like it's long, but it doesn't sit that way in my brain, at least. Because like yeah, his other great stuff is like Cujo, right? Carrie, The Shining. None of those. Yeah, yeah. I think that's maybe what I'm. That's maybe what I've been trying to say this whole time. I think Christine, for my money, so far of what I've read, is the first time King writes what is like extremely clearly a bloated novel. Like there's just too much of it. Much of it is like completely unnecessary. There are so many psychological byways that just sort of like peter out, mix metaphors. But it all holds up really well. I think it all in the end it comes together as like a really successful novel that like could absolutely have been shorter, but I don't mind any of the time I spent with it other than just being like, bruh, LeBay sucks. Chill. Which is a great way to start a book. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pleased with that description. King's most successful bloated novel so far that I've read, at least. We'll see what happens when I get to it. We'll see what happens when I get to it. I'm looking forward to it. Strangetouch.com / just / king / thing. Thanks for not watching.